Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2, the main talking points on tonight's programme. The PFA reveal their 4 nominees for Manager of the Year. It's a 50-50 split for the Cup final tickets. And Jack Ross and John Hughes get ready for the Great Escape. Yeah, just a few of the talking points on tonight's programme. Alan Rough is alongside me, Peter Martin. I'm delighted to say on this Thursday evening, an unusual day for him, our boot room guest is Gordon Smith, one of our ever-present pundits. Great to have Gordon on with us. Of course, the nominees are out. What's your reaction to it, Ruffy? The 4 names involved are Brendan Rodgers, Derek McInnes, Alan Archibald and Jim Duffy.
Yep, I mean, I get Brendan Rodgers, I get Derek McInnes, I also get, Archibald and Jim Duffy for the budgets that they work under. I am really surprised Neil Lennon's not in that group. But again, we keep talking about the way the voting's done. We've already discussed why Scott Brown isn't in it. And I think Neil Lennon comes into that category as well, because, a lot of people portray him as Mr. Whatever. But he's not like that at all. We all know him on a personal basis. He's the nicest guy you could meet. But when the football comes round, he's very passionate, he's very aggressive. And I think that might be the reason that some people possibly haven't voted for him.
Yeah, Gordon, I mean, there's no doubt about these nominees. Well, first of all, I've got to qualify that the managers vote for it. It's not as if it's a panel of people. No. So the managers vote for it. But we were discussing it yesterday. Sometimes personalities come into it.
No question of that. I've seen it myself. That even when I was down in England playing, when there was a PFA, was quite strong down there about the Player of the Year, things like that. And it's quite a lot of the times people were discounted because other players didn't like them, didn't like their attitude. So it can work that way, and that's maybe how it's working that way. Obviously, also in terms of managers, maybe somebody they don't get on with, somebody they've had fights with, and also when the decision's made. Sometimes it's before the end of the season. That's why I'm quite surprised, like Ruffy is, that Neil Lennon's not in it, because when he was, when the nominations probably were in and the voting took place, I think probably Hibs were maybe still in the semi-final, and so they still could have made the final and won the cup and won the league the same year, the championship, and it would have been a great season. Neil Lennon certainly deserved credit, but the other people who have been voted for, the final nominations are all good. I think Brendan Rodgers will get it because it's been a spectacular season for Celtic. Yeah,
I mean, on that point, Ruffy, let's be blunt about it. Hibs couldn't get out of that division in 3 seasons, so for Neil Lennon to achieve it is something special. So I think he'll feel a little bit miffed, to say the least. But I think Jim Duffy is another man that he is, hugely popular in Scottish football, but he's backed it up. I think Morton were hoping just to stay in the division. To get them to the playoffs is some feat.
Yeah, well, I think if you look at the beginning of the season and you look at expectations, you would have thought if Morton had got where they are now, you'd be absolutely gobsmacked, and I'm sure the supporters would be as well. So full credit to Jim Duffy for getting them there, and the players as well. And yes, he does deserve to be recognised. It's unfortunate, I don't think he will win it. But yes, recognition is a big thing.
It's about achieving going beyond expectations as well. You're absolutely right. And that's why Alan Archibald is also a good candidate, because most people would have said Partick Thistle avoiding relegation, staying out the zone for the playoff, whatever, but he's got them in the top 6, so certainly deserves to be there because he's had a great season.
Yeah, and we've been singing the praises of Derek McInnes on this programme relentlessly throughout the year, Ruffy, to get to 2 cup finals, and I think we all have this belief that Rangers won't catch them for second place.
No, I don't think they will, and I think if you're Derek McInnes and Aberdeen players, you'll be thinking you are the number 2 team. You are the team who deserve over the last couple of years to be quite rightly quoted as being the second best team in Scotland, and it's up to Rangers to obviously come back next year and prove them wrong. But I think Aberdeen will get a taste of the success that they've got and will build on what they've got. Still obviously got the cup final coming up, and I think they'll get strong. We keep talking about Celtic getting stronger and Rangers are going to get stronger. I would like to think that Derek McInnes and the board up there would say, let let's us get stronger as well. Let's make it harder for Rangers to catch us.
Okay, if you were looking at the back pages this morning, this is the images that would have greeted you the minute you opened your eyes. Brendan, my racism fears, and just a little sidebar there. 50-50 ticket split for Celtic and Aberdeen for the Scottish Cup final, and of course Pedro in crunch talks with some of his flops. Whether they've got a future at Ibrox next season remains to be seen. Here's the Sun. Brendan's race hate shock, and he also mentions that some players might actually decide not to come to Scotland if this were to rear its ugly head again. And it also highlights Antoine Griezmann. It looks as if it's close to a deal with Manchester United, and I think he'll be on £280,000 a week, but will he be happy in Manchester? That's all I'm saying to you. And the Daily Mail, well, the picture just says it all. Higuain scoring 2 goals for Juventus in the Champions League semi-final against Monaco. So there you have it. That's all 3 of the newspapers, and I think lots to talk about with regards to the headlines. I think the racism one is an interesting one. Got to stamp it out. Got to ban fans, indefinite bans. I think it's a good move with Rangers, and over and above that, you got to send that message out consistently. Something we do regularly on this show. Yeah, it got a high profile because of the game it was involved in. I think there's been big changes in the game. I mean, you look at the Champions League before the matches. You've got all the big major names in the game saying, you know, cut out racism, stop racism. So there have been a lot of moves towards it. People have worked hard in it. Show Racism the Red Card is a body in Scotland who worked very hard over the years, and I think we see very little of it nowadays. You're obviously going to find from time to time people who basically can't deal with that. They're racist, and you know, society produces people like that. But I think that, you know, there's been a big campaign about it, and I don't think it's a major problem in Scotland. Yeah, when it does rear its head, Ruffy, I think there should be an education programme at the back of it for the culprits.
Yes, and you'd like to think that education programme would work. I wouldn't be 100% that some of the people who do these kind of things would comply to anything like that. I think that's where they are, is what you see. Sometimes they can't be changed, but yes, I think it's good that we're active, that we're doing something. It has, the bottom line is, it's got better. It's got much better than what it used to be, but we still have to be actively trying to stop it. Yeah.
Okay. Discussions there. One of the papers talking about Pedro Caixinha having discussions with some of the players that have flopped, because obviously Rangers need to bounce back at the weekend in another Glasgow derby against Partick Thistle. There'll be a lot of soul searching after a 5-1 drubbing.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the thing about it is he will be judged. You know, the fans will probably turn a little bit on him by thinking, well, you know, he didn't do too well in 2 key games that mattered. So he'll be looking at to see how he does in the remaining games. He has said he's met the players, had a discussion with the players. He needs to get them behind him. You've got to have a good empathy between the players and the management. And these will be interesting games, the ones ahead, because I mean, it is against the 4 teams who are, you know, you discount now Celtic are away, but the other 4 teams who are in that top area, the league, and Rangers basically have to show that they are better than them. And the hard games, I mean, the first one's Partick Thistle away on Sunday, and then they've got Hearts and Aberdeen both to come at home. The final game's, I think, away to St Johnstone. So there'll be tough games, and he has to show and decide on his squad as well as to who are the players that will go forward with Rangers, which ones are the ones he's going to be relying on next season too.
Yeah, you've saved quite a few of them. I have 8 that maybe be heading out the door, Gordon. I think we're at loggerheads on who stays, who goes. The other thing I was going to mention to you, Ruffy, just before we hit the break, is of course a 50-50 split for the Scottish Cup final tickets. Supply and demand will never satisfy Celtic supporters, but I think fair's fair. Aberdeen take a great support on the road with them as well. They deserve 50-50.
Yep, I think it's a good decision. We know that obviously Celtic supporters travel far and wide, but you have to appreciate that Aberdeen are the furthest, well, maybe not the furthest, but near enough the furthest travelling support, and they've supported their team in numbers throughout the year at away games, and quite rightly so. they have to be recognised to get the 50-50 split.
Yep, okay. You can give us your view on that at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy as well. We'd love to hear from you on the programme, interacting with us. Coming up after the break, we will hear from Neil McCann. We're going to talk Hibs as well. We'll hear from Jordan Foster of Hibs. But we thought we'd give you a question relating to one of the managers who's included in the four-man shortlist for the PFA Manager of the Year. What do you know about Alan Archibald? Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show. Delighted to have your company from Aberdeen, Dundee, Ayr, Edinburgh, Glasgow. We have a new band of followers taking us through to the end of the season. Delighted if you have joined us for the first time. Gordon Smith is our bookroom guest tonight, alongside myself and Ruffy, talking football. And just a couple of things I wanted to mention to you guys. It looks as if they're getting ready to demolish the old main stand at Tynecastle. That'll be an emotional time for more than a few Jambos. I mean, I had 12 years going in and out of those offices, day in, day out, interviewing Jim Jeffries and lots of players. It will be an emotional time for a lot of old stagers who support the Jambos.
It will be. I mean, the thing about it is there's quite a lot of scenarios where even clubs move stadiums, so that's at least they're staying at Tynecastle, which is good. And it's an improvement they're going to make to the main stand. I know they had quite a fight in their hands at club level to try and get permission to do it. I don't know whether it was a listed building or whatever, but they had to get permission in order to make the changes they've made, and they were delighted to be able to do that because they are going to improve it. That's one of the things about, you know, some of the old grounds, Peter, that although there's this tradition and history with them, a lot of them just don't comply with modern day what's required in terms of even dressing rooms and facilities, and also the hospitality areas, boardrooms and all that sort of thing. So they are going to build a new and better stand. Yeah,
absolutely. And some of the fans will actually get to take some of the seats or purchase them, Ruffy, which I always think is good. A wee bit of what are you laughing for? It's a wee bit of memorabilia. I like that sort of thing. I don't know about you, it goes down a storm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when Hampden was dismembered, you could see it. People were buying it. People were buying the goalpost. People were wanting a piece of it. So where do you put it? You know, I mean, where do you put that?
I'll tell you where do you put that bench? You stick it in your Hearts room with your posters of John Robertson and all the legends of the past, Conbald and Wardhaw. That's what you do.
Keep in your garden or whatever, and you somewhere, you know, especially if it's meaningful. If you're a major supporter, you want to have some sort of memorabilia.
Absolutely. And what you do is, if you sit in your garden, what you do is anybody that walks past, you just give them pelters. You know, because it's just one of those. It's one of those grounds where everybody gets agitated for a throw-in. Gordon,
absolutely,
it's one of my favourite grounds for atmosphere.
If you got a chance to buy the press seats, will you take one of the seats from the press area?
To be fair, Ruffy, I really don't want to sit like that in my house. You know.
That's what I'm saying, Peter. That's why, probably for everybody that goes along there, it's going to be better than it was. I mean, I know, as I say, there's this historical element. You look at the press area, the board area, the seats for the fans were in, everything. Even the dressing rooms have not changed in the time. I mean, the dressing rooms are still basically set up for 11 players, not for 11 plus 7 subs and all that thing. So it's going to be a big improvement all round for Hearts, and they've decided to spend this money. And I think it's a great idea. I think the new stand is going to look brilliant.
I mean, the stadium as it is just now is electric. You know, you can imagine what it's going to be like. You know, when it's a modern, obviously 4-piece right round. It's going to be fantastic. I mean, it's so. The good thing about it is it's so close to the park, and the way it's structured, it just makes it a great spectacle, a great stadium.
So. Yeah. Today also was a significant day, if only for the 50th anniversary. Celtic have decided to unveil a commemorative strip. This is in line with the Lisbon Lions, who are celebrating 50 years since they won the European Cup in 1967. So a number of the players were out there. It's a sunny day. A lot of fans wanted to see how Celtic were going to commemorate it. And as you can see, Ruffy, that round neck there, I think, is the tribute to the Lisbon Lions. And Bertie Auld, Bobby Lennox and I think John Clark were out there chatting to some fans.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, if you look at the history of the strip, I couldn't believe there wasn't even a badge, you know, on the Celtic strip in '67. You know, obviously, you know, things have moved on from then, but
no numbers either.
No numbers either.
No, that's right.
But I'm sure the supporters will, if given the chance to buy the commemorative strip, I'm sure they'll sell it in numbers.
I think the numbers were on the shorts in those days, Peter.
They were
weren't
indeed, yeah. And, in fact, to be fair, I don't think, I mean, even the early days of Real Madrid winning, you know, 6 European Cups, I'm wondering at what point the badge actually went on the strip. I mean, Dukla Prague had a great badge in the middle. That was one of those ones, if you were younger, you wanted one of those strips, but unfortunately, you couldn't get in for your Christmas. There's just absolutely no danger.
Even if people get the chance to see the actual material that the strip was
thick.
It was thick.
Heavy.
It was a really
thick
heavy. Now, modern days, obviously, it's you know, the material is absolutely fantastic.
I'll tell you one thing though, this strip is quite figure hugging. You know? That's a blow for.
And it's only medium.
That's a blow. Stuart Lovell mentioned earlier in the week that some people were quite tubby. So for anybody who might need to go up a couple of sizes to make it loose fit, of course, with Celtic in mind, St Johnstone have the chance to become the latest club to have a go at stopping this unbeaten domestic run. You know, we keep saying week in, week out, somebody's got to do it. Will it be St Johnstone?
It'll be tough for them, but the only thing in their favour is, we'll talk about this so often, Peter, that, you know, I've checked out St Johnstone and watched their games, and last Saturday was a good example. Their performances away from home are better than their home in terms of wins. They've had more away wins. So if the game was maybe in Perth, you know, you might fancy Celtic more, but St Johnstone do well when they're away, so they'll certainly be making it a tough game for Celtic next Saturday. Yeah,
I don't think Tommy Wright is too bothered about Celtic and whether St Johnstone can do it. All he's thinking about is maintaining 4th spot.
Well, 4th place will secure us European football, so that's our aim. We're in a good position at the minute. We've got that 6-point advantage over Hearts. We've still got Hearts and you know, to play at home. You know, 1 win makes it really difficult for Hearts. You know, if we can get 2 wins in the last 4, we know that you know, we'll get 4th place again. So we're happy where we are at the minute, but we don't get overconfident, and we're not. We know there's still a lot of hard work still to be done. Well, that's going to be difficult. I mean, it's all in, you know, Rangers would need to, you know, drop points, and but our focus isn't Rangers. Our focus is 4th place.
Will he feel slightly miffed that maybe he wasn't mentioned? Because I think his achievements have been superb as well, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think if you're going to mention Alan Archibald and Jim Duffy, you've got to mention him as well. You know, he's in the same category, you know, very small budget, you know, and taking them to where they are. And not only this year, but year on year is superb. But again, you know, you would have to ask the managers how they vote and why they vote and who, you know, for who they voted for, you know, but because everybody's got different criteria, everything is there, but certainly I don't think he'll be miffed, you know, but I think if he was to get St Johnstone into Europe again this year, I think that would be more for him than being nominated.
It probably went against him, Ruffy, that you know, expectation levels, most people, because St Johnstone have done well, they won Europe last year, the job he's done winning the cup, most people expected him maybe to be a top 6 team anyway, and that's why Alan Archibald got the voting, because he's maybe achieved more than what was expected at the beginning of the season, whereas Tommy Wright, in fairness to him, he's got St Johnstone in a great position, and he deserves a lot of credit for it. But I think maybe that's why that he maybe the votes went more towards Alan Archibald than it did for him.
Yeah, absolutely. OK. I think there's one game in the Premiership this weekend that we'll be covering. We're certainly looking forward to it as well. Saturday you can join us, 2 o'clock STV2, is of course Motherwell against Ross County, because Motherwell are right in the mix here, and I think Ross County are out of it. Maybe am I being too kind to them, Ruffy?
No, I still think there's enough points. There's enough points to get out of it. There's enough points to get in it. I think you have to, you know, take every game as it comes, and winning games every time you get 3 points, it's going to take the pressure off you. And the good thing about it is they're all playing each other, you know. So, I mean, I've even said, I think we've all said that Inverness are out of it. Yeah. You know, even though we're all saying they're out of it, if they were to get Hamilton at the weekend and beat Hamilton, they'll still think they've got a chance. They have to, as professionals, they have to say, look, there's enough points on the board to bring people back to us, but we need to win games. So the important thing for them is they need to win.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put my neck out here. Ross County are not getting relegated. Don't think they're going to be in the playoffs either. And Michael Gardine says their form going into the game against Motherwell was pretty good as well.
We're 5 unbeaten now, and you know, we've won a couple, drew a couple, so it's important at this stage of the season, obviously the position we're in, that we keep performing, and you know, Saturday's another chance to do that. I think there's definitely still work to be done. You know, I think 3-4 points from the playoff spot with 4 games to go, you know, you just need to do the maths to see that. And obviously we've got a big game this weekend. Motherwell are kind of in the same position as us, and you know, they'll be thinking if they could win they'll be away from it, but you know, we just need to concentrate on ourselves. You know, we've had a good week's training, and we're really looking forward to the game.
OK, who's going down? At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. The general consensus, I think, from most of the guys is that Inverness are doomed. We'll hear from Richie Foran after the break. We're also going to be talking about Kenny Dalglish and a special honour in the city of Liverpool. Join us after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. Gordon Smith and Alan Ruffer with me, Peter Martin. Thank you very much for joining us, our ever-growing band of followers. If you like your football chat, weeknights for the full 60 minutes, 7:30. And we always have that little half-time break and a chance to just get a quick cup of tea, and then we're ready to talk about even more clubs right across the country, focusing on not only Scottish football, we'll look at English and Europe Champions League and the Europa League too. So you think Inverness are doomed, unless, Ruffy, you're going to surprise me and put forward a case? Can they win against Hamilton and suddenly revive themselves?
Of course they can. Yeah. You know, and obviously Hamilton had a bad result at the weekend, but Hamilton have proved everybody wrong to go to away games and get wins, and there's every chance they could do that. But looking at it from an Inverness point of view, you have to believe there's enough points in the bag to get yourself out. So they need to win. If they don't win,
but can I ask you a question? There's a Scottish word. It's called, are you just blethering, Ruffy? Because they look doomed.
They do look doomed, but I mean, would you say that if they won, say, 3-0 at the weekend?
Yeah.
But you're saying,
they're gone.
You're saying
if they won at the weekend, they still got a chance.
Saying Hamilton have got a good record of going away and winning away from home.
No, they've got a good chance. When they go away from home, they surprise us all.
You know how many games they've won away from home this season?
3.
1.
Well,
they've surprised us.
So if you're an Inverness player, you're going to go, well, hey, we've got a good chance of winning here at the weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
only you could spin that after he's done you.
One.
Yeah.
It was recently they won 1 game away from home this season. Yeah. That was their first away win.
Yeah.
So, so if I'm in an Inverness camp, I'm not going to say we're doomed. We've got a team coming here who's only won 1 game.
Gordon, I've never met a man who honestly, he U-turned there. It was as if he was on a go-kart going right, left and right, just squirming. They're gone for me.
I think so as well. I can't see it because, as I say, you know, they're competing in the games, but they're not winning the games. They're not getting the goals, vital times, missing chances. Seen a few games this year when they have lost as well. And see when you're playing well and you lose, that's relegation form. I've been in that at times with clubs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you're actually thinking, oh, we've played well today and we got beaten. That's when you're in trouble, because if you're playing badly and getting beaten, you always think it can turn around when we play well, we're going to win. But they've been playing well and losing, so I think it's too much for them. Obviously, this is a crucial game. I think if they were to lose on Saturday, I think it's finished. I think they are finished.
Yeah, of course, the mood around the camp is difficult. I mean, time and time again, Richie Foran's been talking about them. He wants them to be aggressive. He wants them to be nasty. I think, you know, he's used the term, just try and win a game ugly. Where have we heard that before? But as you can tell, the manager has summed up what's happening at the Tulloch Stadium and how they all feel.
Angry, disappointment, hurt. Players are definitely hurting, as am I. But there's nothing we can do about the past now. All we can contribute towards is the future and the next 4 games. Look, there's 12 points up for grabs. We've got to go out and perform now. Talk is cheap. Forget about all the talk, all the cliches. Go out, man up and perform on the park. In terms of points, forget about that. Delivering in terms of pride and passion and playing for the club and playing for the jersey, chasing lost causes, fighting for every ball. That's what we need to do. I
think they may need 12 points, Gordon, and hope people start dropping elsewhere.
Well, I mean, at the moment they're 7 behind. Yeah, so you know, even if they get, you know, if they got 9, is that going to be enough? No, because other teams have got games. So I think you're probably right. I think 12 is required. Maybe 10. Would 10 be enough? Maybe no, I don't think so.
Can't see it. Killie Dundee have rallied after that win against Motherwell. It's just lifted the whole club, according to their interim manager Neil McCann.
Well, had the result not gone for us, then the way the other results went might have put us in a difficult situation. I mean, you look at it now, then you sort of look at the magnitude of how that weekend or what the weekend was, and so we've come out on the other side of it, which is really pleasing. I think the boys thoroughly enjoyed a 3 points, which they hadn't done for a long, long time. So it was just really important that they actually enjoyed the feeling of winning, because there's no other better feeling than winning. So it's important that they actually really kind of sap everything from it. And to be honest, when they came back in on Monday after a well-earned rest, I could see what it meant to them, and we've had a really strong week again.
Yeah, stop the rot.
Definitely. I mean, it was 7 defeats in a row when he went in there, and to go and play that game, you know, away from home at Motherwell, it was a tremendous win. As he said there, he couldn't have been any better to turn it around in that respect. I know there was a lot of controversy over the goal. It was disallowed from Motherwell's point of view, but nevertheless, to go in there in your first game in and turn it around. And that's why this Saturday's a crucial game too, because they're sitting at the moment, they're 5 points behind Kilmarnock. If they were to win this game away from home, and the interesting thing about Kilmarnock is that they've been on a great run too. Lee McCullough's got them going, great win at Hamilton last Saturday, but they're, funnily enough, they're one of the teams as well. There's Kilmarnock and St Johnstone, the 2 teams in the Premier League who are actually more away wins than they've got home wins. Kilmarnock haven't been that impressive at home. So Dundee, once again being away from home, well, I think they'll go to Kilmarnock quite confident they can get a result.
Yeah, OK, we'll be following the Premiership, and we'll also have a close eye on the other 3 leagues. Of course, the helicopter's up in the air. It's Arbroath or Forfar in League 2. League 1 done and dusted as far as Livingston are concerned. They'll be in the Championship next season. And in the Championship itself, Ruffy, it's just been superb as far as this battle at the bottom end of it. Hibs have run away with it at the top end, but St Mirren and Raith, this is indeed squeaky bum time.
Yeah, and I think anybody we've had on from St Mirren are quite honestly in saying, yeah, we've been on a fantastic run, but if you give us the playoffs now, we'll take it. You know, and that just shows you how far behind they were. And everybody was obviously saying, oh, this could be a St Mirren team is going down a division rather than staying where they are. So the run that they went on is fantastic. And you would say things like that, you know, but I think they'll still think they'll go there last game of the season. St Mirren, Hibs not possibly firing on all cylinders, but I think they might get a mistake if they think that way. They have to really fight for this win. Yeah,
of course, Hibs' Jordan Foster says, you know, it's going to be a tough game because of the form that St Mirren have been in.
It's been brilliant. You know, we've been speaking in there. Obviously, John's brother's playing with them, and you know, the boys have been talking in there. They've done a great job. You know, I've experienced being sort of close to the bottom of the table, and it can be really difficult. But they seem to have sort of, you know, shrugged off that burden and really played some good football. And some of the results have been really, really good.
I read a quote from Jack Ross saying with the squad he has available, they reckon they can win the championship next season. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm getting carried away here, because I still think they've got a bigger battle holding on to the likes of a Stephen McGinn, a Stevie Mallan.
Yeah, they'll have a hard job there, but you know, it's been a big turnaround and they've done a great job. Tough game, there's a lot at stake. I mean, I love, as you know, we're talking about it earlier on, Peter, I love competition in football and leagues, and that's what we've got. A bit of competition at the top just between Falkirk and Dundee United, just to see who's going to be second or third, right? But down at the bottom end, we really do have, because Ayr United are even saying at this moment in time they can still stay up if they beat Raith 5-0.
Yeah.
They stay up now. What's the chances of that away from home?
None.
Yeah, probably. But the thing about it is,
unless Ruffy's going to say it's going to be a complete surprise.
But if Raith get a result, I mean, Raith are 2 points behind St Mirren. If St Mirren were to lose to Hibs on Saturday, and Raith could win the game, St Mirren are in the playoff too. Now, they'll be quite confident they can win a playoff with the kind of form they're in.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot to play for at the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. John Hughes, never one to pull any punches on this. I don't think he's going to actually take the team talk on Saturday.
My team talk's easy on Saturday. My kit man is a Raith Rovers supporter, born and bred. He's been lucky to be in here over the last few years doing the kit. He was working on the railway before that, hated it. He's doing the team talk on Saturday. All he needs to say is, if we don't win the day, boys, every chance I might be back on the railway. Simple. If you don't want to go and play for him, don't put the strip on.
Yeah, great stuff from John Hughes, and what a great big house he's got, Ruffy. He's always outside that house, isn't it? It's just a mansion. I used the word blethering earlier on there. What are you blethering on about to the newspapers yesterday, Gordon? What's that all about?
What was that?
You'd rather watch Real Madrid and Barcelona because Rangers and Celtic, there's no competition at the moment. What did you do between 1989 and 1997? Were you bored then?
Yeah,
when Rangers were running away with the league?
Yeah, I was. Because I like to see competition. I like a challenge. I like when it's like, you mentioned earlier on helicopters. There were some incredible days after that, when the helicopter days, when the helicopter was going from one ground to another because it was competition. I like to see that, and Raith Rovers have got that the weekend. They can fight to get above St Mirren, depending on what happens to St Mirren, or they can fight to stay above Ayr United. So because Ayr United, if they do win 5-0. Raith are like, so I love that, and just to be honest with you, did you not enjoy watching El Clasico more than you did watching Rangers and Celtic last weekend?
Well, that's another matter.
Be honest, Peter.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to have a quick break. Helicopters changing direction. Who'd have thought? Here's the question one more time. We'll give you the answer to the Alan Archibald conundrum next. A lot of time for Alan Archibald, one of the good guys. I'm so delighted he has been nominated for the PFA Manager of the Year, and 423 appearances, Ruffy, second only to a legend.
Yes, and still hasn't got his own stand or own hospitality suite.
Yeah.
But I think if he continues the way he's going as a manager, he will, because to be at a club for that long and to play that many games and then move on to being the manager of a club and be so successful, if he continues in that vein, and I hope he does, I'm sure he will. I hope nobody comes in and poaches him, because I think he's still got a lot to do at Partick Thistle.
Is he second in terms of number of games for the club?
Yes, I think he is, yes.
Yeah, there's only one ahead of him. How many have you got, Ruffy?
I think it's around about 640.
Yeah, so even if he made a comeback, there isn't a chance that he could overtake you. The other thing about it, would you be miffed if the Alan Archibald suite was, to replace you, and they took the huge oil painting off you down? You mean that painting that we...
Well, taking the oil painting down wouldn't be a bad thing. As long as I could sit for another one and make it a wee bit better than the one that's up there.
No, the artist did his absolute best. I think you look great in it. Certainly, you look fit in it, Ruffy, to be perfectly honest with you. There's a lot of great photographs there with you in the early days with the...
Yeah, I think Partick Thistle have done particularly well over the last couple of years, and everybody likes tradition. at a club, and the corridors are now getting full of ex-teams and ex-players, as they do at Rangers and Celtic and a lot of other clubs. But I just think for the supporter going along there, and if you're walking along a corridor or going around a corner and then you see a photograph of a legend, whether it's Jackie Husband or Johnny McKenzie or whatever, I think it's good to keep the supporters on board.
Yep. Are you not in the Brighton Hall of Fame, Gordon?
No, they don't have a Hall of Fame yet, but they've got.
It's only a matter of time for you.
Well, they've got my photograph. There's a big wall with all players, ex-players, about 20 ex-players on it, and I'm on that, a big, huge painting, and I'm also in a inside. In the thing, and I get invited to the club. The club, despite what happened in 1983, the club still do look after me. I get invited down there. I was invited down for the big game last Saturday. I'm glad I didn't go now, because they thought they were winning the championship last Saturday and lost at home
I have to say, myself and Peter were gobsmacked that you're not in the Kilmarnock Hall of Fame.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm not in that. No. My grandpa's in it. He won 2 Scottish Cups for Kilmarnock, and of the 5 trophies they've won, he's the only player ever to have won 2 of them, and he's in that.
Gordon, don't fret. They do it every year.
Yeah.
Eventually,
they'll get round to me.
Well, eventually, what they do is they get to that point where punters go, they're ripping the back end out of it now, aren't they?
If all fails, you could maybe just get a photograph of yourself and put it on your granddad's.
do.
You're a bad.
Same name.
You're a bad man.
Same name.
You're a bad man. Anyway, here's one guy. This is my favourite piece of the whole programme.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter about anything else. We've been chatting. There's been serious stuff. There's been lots of chat about Scottish football. But this one piece we're about to discuss now is well worthy of your consideration, because the greatest player ever on these shores has been honoured by Liverpool Football Club. And if you were a young boy growing up and you had him as your boyhood hero, you won't be disagreeing with me right now, because this next man, Kenny Dalglish, is going to have the centenary stand at Anfield named after him. King Kenny, we've had him on the programme 3 times, Ruffy. He's been an absolute joy, and he's probably one of those only players, Gordon, that I almost cried when he joined Liverpool, but then tears of delight when he joined Liverpool and just scored goals for fun. Magnificent.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great honour for him to be a Scottish player down there. We think all the players that Liverpool have had, but he did a great job, both not on the field but off the field too. There was also everything he did at the time at Hillsborough as well, where he showed fantastic remorse for all the people and everything he did, went to funerals and spoke to the parents and all that. So he's got to give him a lot of credit for that. But as a footballer, he was superb. I played against him when he was at Liverpool, and I always remember a classic example. We're talking about the PFA thing, and the first season I was down there, I remember that we all got handed out by the captain of the club a sheet of paper to write down our team of the season from the top division. And right round the dressing room, everybody was just saying, right, Ken Dalglish, right, who's the other 10 now? His first name was on the sheet for every player in that dressing room. And you thought to yourself, that's the respect he's got down here. Fantastic player. Ruffy played along with him more times than me. I played a couple of under-23 games along with him. But as I say, in terms of what he's achieved, you got to say he deserves all the respect in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you think about it, Ruffy, I can remember as clear as day everybody talking about, you know, and sometimes I think English journalists and certain sections of the fan base look on Scottish football with disdain. It's not a new thing. It's been going on for decades. And I can remember so many of them talking about, you know, will he be able to replace Kevin Keegan? You know, and I think most of us in Scotland thought, replace Kevin Keegan. He couldn't lace his boots.
No, you're right. You know, as Gordon said, I was privileged enough to play with him in the 70s, late 70s, and at that particular time, he was way ahead of his time. You know, I mean, we all talk about players now and nutrition and sleeping, you know, at particular times and saving your energy. Kenny was doing all that before people started suggesting it, you know, and he was eating properly. And he just had a great, you know, in the game he knew what he had to do to achieve to be successful.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing going down there, Peter, because if you've said there, you know, he was being doubted, you know, of can you be one of the greats like Dennis Law and all the Scottish boys. And he proved them wrong so quickly, you know, just by his technique. We talk about players' physique and the way they are now. Kenny wasn't particularly muscle bound, and he was strong. He could turn people.
He wasn't quick though.
But he had a brain. He had a football brain, and
he was a yard ahead of him.
Good players round about him. He could make it happen.
And he made Ian Rush, because there's no doubt about it. Ian Rush ended up getting a great reputation and big transfer and all that. Went to Italy, didn't he?
Yeah.
But it was, everybody was quite aware of it. It was Dalglish that made Rush. There's no question. Ken Dalglish made so many goals from. He was the clever one up front. Ian Rush was just the person that got in behind. He could finish, right? But Ken Dalglish was the smart player.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that as a player. And of course, I think he deserves recognition for what he achieved as a manager as well. Liverpool and Blackburn and Liverpool second time around. There are a few times in the career where I'm sure people look back at things that didn't go quite according to plan. But I'm glad you mentioned the Hillsborough thing, because I think, you know, it's no wonder he left Liverpool. I think he must have been so stressed with all the great work that he'd shown towards the people of Liverpool. Never to be forgotten, his stance backing those families.
Yeah, and you're right, Peter, because if you ever get a chance to see a photograph of him before it happened, and then get a photograph of after it, you know, the stress, the pressure he felt, the pain of the families who went through it all, and at the end of it all, you could see that it actually did take his toll on him. Personally.
Absolutely. King Kenny, well worthy of a stand named after him. Last point, Ruffy, what did you make of Juventus? What about Higuain's goal for Juventus? It was out of the top drawer.
I've said it all along. When you get to Champions League semi-finals and finals, you buy the players who win you games. You buy the top class, and they've identified him as maybe not, I would say, the highlight of his career, but the bottom, because he scores goals, and he scores goals in big games, and he did it again.
I think Monaco are a really good team, but Juventus showed the two aspects that they have, which is defensively, they're very strong. They make it very difficult for teams to score against them, and they've got somebody like Higuain who can put the ball in the net for them, and the first goal was fantastic.
Yeah, we're about to find out how good Ronaldo is if it's a final between Real Madrid and Juventus. Can he break down that defence?
Yeah, well, the referee will give him the first goal anyway. They have done in the last two rounds.
Is there any chance you could cut Ronaldo some slack, by the way? If you keep that up, I'm going to get Roy Keane sitting in that seat next to you to sort you out. But delighted to have Gordon Smith with us here on the programme. Hugh McDonald will be our guest tomorrow. Join us if you can at 7:30. Good night.